lungs were so weak, and my twin sister had died just 2 months before when I came down with lower lung pneumonia, and both my lungs collapsed while I was out of town. And I said my goodbyes telepathically to God and everybody else. I woke up the next morning completely healed, came back to Omaha, Nebraska, where I was living. The doctor took x-rays of my lungs, called me into his office and cried. Sat there and literally cried in front of me, and he said, "You must have something important to do in the future because these are not your lungs. These are newborn baby lungs." I also was hit by a car in 1993 while I was walking across the street, thrown 35 feet up in the air, 75 feet out into another street. All these bones in here were broken, had gone in and out my bladder. My colon was, and intestines were all twisted and knotted up. A part of my face was torn off me. My ears were torn off me. I wear a plate in my shoulder. I was told that it would take 6 to 8 months for me to walk again. But because my muscle tissue is Anunnaki, I walked in 2 months. But because my bones are Zeta bones from my DNA, my bones did not heal like humans. My bones took 3 times longer than a human. I have both Zeta DNA, Anunnaki DNA, and human DNA. Anunnaki is the greatest part of my DNA, which attributes for my muscular build. When I did one time in my life start working out with weights, I developed the body of a weightlifter that would take 1 to 2 years to develop that body. I did it in 2 weeks. Unbelievable. And one day I looked in the mirror and I go, I'm a man. I was so muscular. So I quit working out. But anyway, it was not until I was, after I finally, when I had that accident, by the way, it took me 5 years to say complete sentences and to remember 1 minute to the next. I had lost 1/3 of my brain. And I had to learn all over again. It's quite an experience, very humbling experience. In 1997, I decided to give up my fear of having contact. And I started going to an experiencer group. And the psychologist that ran this experiencer group used to work with John Mack, Barbara Lamb. Anyone here know Barbara Lamb? Okay, wonderful woman, fabulous person. I love her so dearly. I started working with this group of experiencers, and I gave up my fear, and I started having contact at least 1 to 2 times a week. And I began going to other planets. I began going through teachings, spiritual teachings, which I didn't expect. Spiritual teachings of love. One of the first things they told me was, in order to be in the new world, which will be coming soon, humans must give up greed, judgment, and prejudice by looking beyond the physical container to see the creator source within each and every being, not within each and every human, each and every being. Okay? Now, when I gave up my fear, I said, okay, by golly, I want them to come to me now. I want them to tell me, why was I the victim? Why did they want me? Why were they always taking me away? Why did they take my babies from time to time? I had 3 conscious memories of having babies taken from me and found out I have 23 children on other planets. Part of it's my DNA. And doctors couldn't explain why, when I, at the age of 24, had to have a hysterectomy, why my tubes, and when I was 40 years old and they removed my tubes and ovaries, why my tubes were like plump hot dogs. I mean, ready for a weenie roast. And the truth was, they told me that a panel of doctors had examined the tissue and it was perfectly healthy. But I had not one, not two, not three tubal pregnancies, but at least 4 or more. And I only remember one because I remember waking up and having a lot of complications with that tubal pregnancy that they took. And then I found out they used my eggs, and what it had to do with was my DNA. That's why they wanted me. So anyway, getting back to when I gave up fear of having contact with them and said, I'm ready for conscious, after 3 weeks of begging, they finally appeared to me. And the first one that appeared to me was one of the most incredible, loving beings I had ever encountered. And the love was beyond words. There is no human description for the love they give you, okay? What happened was, on the day that he materialized, I'm laying in bed, begging, of course, and here comes, almost like Star Trek, here comes a body materializing in front of me. Brown skin, as wrinkled as elephant skin, very glove leather soft. I don't know what kind of lotion he used, but he was soft. He had a large head, which was large here, dented in the back here, and then went out a little bit again, and then to a long, thin neck, long arms, arms longer than humans, very muscular, lean body, gold eyes with slits, and he humbly looked down for fear he would frighten me. And all I felt was the most incredible love coming from him. It was as if God himself had entered my room, and I had no idea I could feel this kind of love. I had never felt it from anyone. And I said to him, may I hold your hand? And he rolled out 3 long fingers with suction cups on the end. Is there anyone in this room who has woken up with these bruises, 3 bruises on their thighs, legs, or somewhere? You have? And they look almost like a suction cup type bruise? On your shoulder? Okay. Do you know why we wake up with these bruises? It is not because we've been hurt. It is because consciously, it is to alert us or let us know we have had contact. Whatever happened, it is for us to remember it, okay? So, this guy shows me his suction cups on the ends of his fingers, and I'm holding his hand like, oh, was that cool? Almost like first love. It was wonderful. And I would do it again and again and again. But after a while, he said, now it's time for you to learn from someone else. So I started going from being to being to being, and eventually began having contact with the masters. And the masters are not the people that tell you what to do and to worship them. The masters are here to tell us who we are, how important we are. We are all equal. There is no greater than and no lesser than another. Sananda, Ashtar, Mary, all of them are beings. Now let's fast forward a little bit, and in 2003, one day while taking a pot throwing class, trying to learn how to use clay, they were overbooked and they didn't have enough wheels. And so I sat there most of the time just kind of waiting my turn, and I started working with the clay, and the next thing I knew, I had sculptured an E.T. baby hybrid. Let me tell you, the people in this class were not open-minded like you guys. They thought I was freaky, creepy. And some of the people even told the teacher, do you mind if you tell her not to make these in this room? So I would make them at home. And I began having conscious contact with these beings where they would telepathically, I would be sculpturing and they would tell me how to make the eyes, the nose, the head. And if, by the way, one time I made the nose too big and they said, he does not have a Bob Hope nose. Oh! Or they would say, the eyes do not bulge that much. Okay. Or the eyes are more slanted. What I didn't realize